everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer's Speaks Radio. I'm your host, Lori LeBay, and I'm so excited that you're joining us today. We are going to have a fascinating conversation as usual as we learn from people all around the world at all ages and stages of life. Stay tuned as we shift our dementia care from crisis to comfort.
Here we go. What you think about, you will bring about dementia change. We will.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer's Speaks Radio. Today, we're going to have a great conversation with representatives from Lorenzo's house, and we're going to hear from youth voices on their mission who have parents who have been diagnosed with a form of dementia at a very young age. And we're going to learn how it affects them and how Lorenzo's house is supporting them. For those of you that are new to our show, Alzheimer's Speaks is about sound information, not just sound bites. We like to talk with people all around the world. So maybe, just maybe, you can be our next guest. Everyone is welcome. I would encourage you to check out alzheimersspeaks.com. We have one whole section that is just free educational resources. We also have a book tab if you're interested. We've got a children's book called Betty the Bald Chicken, Lessons in How to Care, which has a bunch of questions in it. It just really opens up the conversation. So feel free to check that out. I'll be doing a film screening of A Timeless Love and a talk back, and that will be held on May 17th and June 10th. You can call the YMCA in Andover, Minnesota at 763-230-9622 for more information. And I also want to give a shout out to Maud's Awards. Their application process is closing May 15th, and Maud's Ventures that gives seed money to new dementia ideas closes July 14th as well. And the last shout out is to Dementia Map. Please check that out. We have over 150 different categories you can search there. Well, hi, everyone. I am so excited to have this conversation. This has been in the brewing for some time here now, and we're going to have a lot of fun. And I think we're going to give a lot of hope to people too. Lorenzo's house is just meeting such a huge gap in the industry. And we are going to get to hear from the people who have tapped into this and are truly powerhouses, and not only helping themselves by being there, but helping others as well. So I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves, and then we'll go ahead and get started with the show. So Diana, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
Sure. First, thank you, Lori, so much. We're honored to be back. You're so dear to allow us back second time now. So my name is Diana Shulla Cose, and I'm the founding executive director at Lorenzo's house.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Bree, I'm going to go to you next.
Yes, echoing what Diana said, Lori, thank you so much again for having us here today. My name is Bree Rugethe. I'm the lead of programs and development here at Lorenzo's house. I have the privilege of building programs and relationships with youth and care partners, holding that personal connection of Alzheimer's in my family and walking alongside families every single day. And my connection to Lorenzo's house is I met Diana through my senior year internship through Loyola University of Chicago, and, just fell in love with Diana and the work that Lorenzo's house is doing, and I've been connected ever since.
Wonderful. Thank you. Shylah, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi there. My name is Shylah Thiara, and I am from Vancouver, Canada. I am a former young caregiver to my father, who was diagnosed with younger onset Alzheimer's, and I am also a part of the Young Professionals Board at Lorenzo's house, and I'm also the MC for the 3rd Annual Youth Summit as well.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. And Will, how about you?
Hi, I'm Will. I'm from the UK, the other side of the pond. My mum lives with young onset Alzheimer's. I'm not a primary carer. My dad and my sister are. I'm kind of got involved with Lorenzo's House fairly recently and recently became a part of the Young Professionals Board. But I'm really trying to be a part of the kind of shift in the narrative and trying to advocate for change within the subject.
Thank you. So Jessica, you're up. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
So I'm Jessica Christensen. I'm 13 years old and from Utah. I have been with Lorenzo's House for about 1.5 years, and my dad was diagnosed 2 years ago with younger onset Alzheimer's, and I've been participating in Light Club, and I've gone to a youth summit, and I've just really enjoyed being a part of Lorenzo's House.
Thank you. And that reminds me, I am going to ask Will on your age, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, sure. I'm 23.
Okay. And Shylah, how about you?
I'm 26.
Okay. And I won't ask the staff. No. So, Diana, I'm going to go up to you and just ask you to first tell us a little bit about Lorenzo's House, how it got started, and, how you've been personally touched by dementia as well.
So Lorenzo's House was founded on a love story. Like there are dozens and dozens of love stories in this space. I got lucky with love and found Lorenzo the night I moved to Chicago over 35 years ago. Today, we have 2 sons and what I call this diagnosis of the family. My husband was diagnosed with younger onset Alzheimer's in 2017, but symptoms were there years before. I learned very quickly that there really is no space, no place for younger families who are walking with dementia. While there were pockets of light, there wasn't one place where we could land and find each other. And so I imagine this place called Lorenzo's House, a place that people who look like us, younger with Alzheimer's, could go and feel supported and connected and seen and heard and inspired by each other's stories, by each other's insights, and by building out an alliance, a community, a family. Because we really are, as a younger niche in this dementia space, we are sort of this unseen, misunderstood, misdiagnosed, undiagnosed, under-resourced group. And there's this massive uptick, 200% uptick in those diagnosed. A recent Blue Cross Blue Shield report shows of those diagnosed before the age of 65, which is younger onset Alzheimer's, not early onset, younger, because early insinuates a stage in the disease, younger it shows and it reveals that it's younger time in one's life. So Lorenzo's House was founded in my son's bedroom out of Chicago in 2021. 2.5 years later, Lori, I never imagined that we would be growing at this pace. And it both makes me very, very emotional. And it also, because there's such a need and families are feeling so isolated, and yet it's such a beautiful thing that we're finding each other. So that's kind of frames it. And then we'll talk about sort of our 3 pillars, our 3 rays, one of which is our youth initiatives, which is why you have Shylah and Jessica and Will with us today.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Bree, I want to ask you how you got involved with Lorenzo's House and if you've been personally touched by dementia as well.
Yeah. So I was So my connection to Alzheimer's was back when I was younger. Alzheimer's runs within my dad's side of the family too. And I always knew that I wanted to do something in this space from a young age to really make a difference. And just knowing that, so I was exploring different career options, and I obtained my my degree in healthcare administration, knowing that I could do something from the top, everything that starts from the top trickles down to really make a difference. And through my senior year internship at Loyola University of Chicago, I had the opportunity to, explore a few different options through my internship. And I met Diana, and she was like, we're just launching this place called Lorenzo's House. I never even heard about younger onset before and what that was, and just her personal story and her connection and her family. It really touched my heart too. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I met Diana like 2.5 years ago and have been with Lorenzo's house ever since. And I'm just so honored to be walking us alongside her family and so many other families.
Great. Thank you. Shylah, I want to ask you, if there's anything you want to talk, about your being touched by dementia at such a young age and your loved one. And then also, I'd love to hear how you found out about Lorenzo's house, because that's always such a struggle, to find out. So I think it would be helpful for our audience to hear that as well.
Sure, yeah. So my father was diagnosed with younger onset Alzheimer's when I was 18 years old, and he was in his early 50s. I was also a caregiver for him for a while. So I was a full-time university student, and I would go to my classes in the morning, and then I would come home and look after my father until my mom got home from work. So that was a really big thing in my life, and it was really hard to do that. And then later on, my dad did get care, but now he is in a long-term care facility. And so for a long time, I didn't open up about my journey. And then about 2 years ago, I started a blog on Instagram highlighting my journey as a former young caregiver and just navigating my journey with my father's diagnosis. And originally, it was just kind of a platform to me to like talk about how I was feeling and just kind of blogging about it, because that was really helpful for me to just get my feelings out. And then it just gained traction, and I started getting more followers and people relating to my journey, which was truly amazing. And then, so I actually stumbled upon Lorenzo's house accidentally. And to me, I feel like it was fate. It was just meant to be. And I just randomly stumbled upon them. And then I started checking out their posts, and I was like, oh my goodness, like they're catered towards youth. I was like, I've never found an organization like this before. And then I remember I DM'd them and I reached out, and I was just like, how old do you have to be in these light clubs? And then they told me the age range, and I'm like, yes, I qualify for this. And then since then, I've been a part of Lorenzo's house, and it's been such an amazing journey. And I'm so happy that I accidentally stumbled upon them. It's been great.
Oh, it's interesting that you talked about blogging, because that was kind of my first step into this world too. I was urged by people to step in, and I'm like, what do I know? And then I started, blogging, and I was shocked, how people are connected. I wasn't big on the whole social media thing and realized how powerful that was. So kudos for you for stepping up, stepping out, and, sharing the emotional journey that this really is. Will, how about you? Is there anything that you would like to share about your loved one? And then again, tell us how you got connected to Lorenzo's house.
Yeah, sure. So, my mum was diagnosed at 49. So I was 16, nearly 17. And at the time I was about to move away from home, I believe, for the first time. And kind of, I was sort of torn between, do I stay home and kind of be there for her every day, or do I kind of speed up the process of chasing dreams or that sort of stuff to try and make her proud? And the reality was it was neither. It was somewhere in the middle. My sister, who's a little bit older than me, she kind of became my mum's carer. To be honest, my mum was kind of branded with a period of 5 years at the beginning, and that we're now at 7, thankfully. So we're kind of living on time that was told was once impossible. So, I've kind of kept it in a box for many of those years. And my way of coping was doing kind of seemingly somewhat idiotic physical challenges to try and raise money for research. That was my way of coping. It was taking myself to a place where, I'm kind of stripped back and in physical challenge to try and, do something productive for a cause related to the issue. But literally at the start of this year, maybe midway through, I consciously decided to try and open the box a bit more and really understand more about what it means, what the disease is, who it affects. Then I got in touch with some researchers. And there's a really lovely researcher named Dr. Patricia Masterson from Wales in the UK. And I was part of a study with her about how we engage young people who are relatives of people living with younger onset. And she mentioned Diana. She said, you need to connect. They've got a youth summit. I've never heard of such a thing. And I signed up that day. And then I think within the next day or two, I was on a call with Diana. And yeah, I think just for me, it was the first time I ever spoke to people with shared experience, which was profound. Like, I don't class myself as a carer. My sister is the hero. But for me, it's just been a massive help to actually acknowledge what it means, but try and be part of a movement that's trying to help other young people going through similar things. So yeah, just really, really happy to be part of this extended family, albeit from across the pond. But yeah, it's nice to actually face the reality rather than keep it sort of within.
Great, thank you. Jessica, how about you? Do you want to talk about your loved one at all, and then tell us how you got connected?
Sure. So, when I joined Lorenzo's house 2 years, like about 1.5 years ago, it was a bit ago, but before that, I just remember that my dad was like different, and I felt like kind of alone, like not many other 11-year-olds at the time, I was 11, have this parent that is more like a child than a parent, and you kind of have to take care of them in a way. And it was weird, and I kind of felt alone and different, and I felt like no one really got me. And I tried like talking to people about it, but people just thought my dad was like losing his keys or something. And then like I knew some people who had like a grandparent with Alzheimer's, but it was a little bit different when you're living with a parent that has Alzheimer's and it's your dad. And then, but my mom, since she's older than me, she got to find some people that she was able to talk to. And at first it just started out as like kind of like some other people who have like a husband or some other kind of, a lot of them weren't even early onset, but it was just some other people that she talked to. But then she got connected with a woman who mentioned Lorenzo's house to her once she heard that she had a daughter. And then my mom showed me, like, I had just missed the youth summit, and my mom like showed me the video of the youth summit, and I just learned what it was about, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. They actually do have something for the youth. And so after that, I started going to the light clubs, and I was able to attend the next youth summit, and it was awesome because I really felt like I had found my place.
Well, that's great. I think so often, I've gone into the schools to speak, and I was shocked how many kids are dealing with this, but no one talks about it. And so often what I would hear from them, and I'd be interested to hear from you guys, a lot of families don't tell you all the details of what's going on, but the whole family dynamic changes. And what I always heard from the kids was that they wanted to help, but they didn't really know how because they didn't really have all the details. Shylah, did that happen to you?
Yeah, so my family and we didn't talk about my dad's diagnosis for a really long time. And the reason why is because we just felt like people wouldn't understand. And I didn't even open up to my best friends about this until like 3 to 5 years into my dad's diagnosis. And I don't want to say it was out of a place of embarrassment, because I wasn't embarrassed, but I couldn't find anyone to connect with me, and I didn't know what to say. And it was just one of those things where I just didn't open up about it till later on. And then I finally was just sitting in my room, and I was like, you know what? Change is not going to happen if I don't open up about this. And I felt such a feeling of loneliness and isolation. I'm like, you know what? I'm done with this, and I'm not going to be afraid to speak out anymore. And that's kind of where my blog came from, and just me kind of speaking out about it. So, yeah.
Oh, thank you. Very, very powerful comments. I think so often parents think we're protecting our kids by not telling them the whole story and stuff, but it gets confusing because you're seeing everything unfold, and not only is your life adjusting to your loved one you're caring for, but you see your other parent adjusting as well, the whole family dynamics. And when it's not talked about, it just kind of bubbles. And that's what I've heard from the kids. Will, how about you?
Yeah, so for me, I had no real, I had grandparents who had, kind of what we picture more as what Alzheimer's is and looks like. And so I think the first stage really was denial. I think my mum got a second diagnosis because I would describe as very headstrong. So she kind of, her instinct is to say, I don't think I've got this thing. But then once we kind of realized that there was a kind of gray area in family dynamics where she didn't want to acknowledge that she had it. So we couldn't talk about it really like publicly to friends because she didn't want certain people finding out about it, because she saw through a church she went to how older people would be treated differently the moment they had a diagnosis. So she wanted to just, for a period of time, live her life as a normal person so she could be treated normally. So that was challenging because it meant we suppressed, our reality of that. But since she's, that's evolved massively, and she's now really kind of getting involved in being a part of change. But yeah, similar maybe to the turning to a blog, or for me it was turning to trying to fundraise for organizations. Like that was my way of, but I couldn't state it was my mum at the time because she didn't want people to know. So I was going, a loved one, a close loved one, and my friends are going, who's this you're on about? Is this a grandparent? And I'm like, no, it's just someone close. But that was how I dealt with it really.
Okay, thank you. Jessica, how about you?
So I definitely agree with both of them. Like, I definitely did feel alone and isolated, and like for a while I definitely didn't talk to it about, I didn't talk about it to friends because I just felt like no one would get me, even like my closest friends. And like I just felt almost kind of awkward and uncomfortable, and I would drop sometimes. Like I was just like, oh yeah, I'm watching my dad today, so that way my mom can go out for a little bit or something like that, and they would just look really confused, and I was like trying to like, oh yeah, my dad kind of has like like he has like a younger type of Alzheimer's, or like, and I kind of tried to like tell him a little bit about it, but I never really like opened up a lot. But then like I just noticed later into the diagnosis, I started feeling all of a sudden a lot more comfortable to open up. And then I started like, I went ahead and I told my friends kind of what it was about and what was happening to my dad and like how it affected my life. And they started to, I think they kind of were shocked. They didn't know I was hiding, or not hiding. I guess they didn't know I was going through all of this, and they weren't really sure how to respond and how to react. But I knew from then, I was like, I think opening up, and if you use, it's a little bit hard to explain, but if you can explain it, I think they understand a little bit more. And my friends still don't fully understand. Sometimes they still just think my dad's a normal guy or whatever. But they understand a little bit more, and I'm starting to think it's important to get the word out there, even if it does mean that I have to share, I really think I now see that it's really important to show people what this is.
Oh, definitely. I remember interviewing they were two Girl Scouts, and they had done a project to help get to know a person with dementia and kind of do this legacy piece. And it was really interesting because it was two best friends that were both dealing with it, one with a parent and one with a grandparent, and they had never told each other for years. And then one day, one of the gals was just really sad. and she finally confessed what was going on. And then that's how they kind of created this program. But it was like, that's how uncomfortable this conversation is, and what our audience needs to understand. We've got to bring this out into the forefront because it's just not healthy for anybody. And we can't get the services that are needed if we don't talk about it. So kudos, to all of you guys for really stepping up and stepping out. And Diana, for your vision with this is just absolutely brilliant. It really is a huge, huge gap in the industry.
I just want to reiterate what you said, Lori, and Shylah and Jessica and Will. Thank you for being so brave, for giving us, and people are going to watch this, your personal story, and finding the space and finding the words and finding the courage and finding the time to know that other people need to hear this. And it is a journey for all of us, whether you are 56 years old or whether you are 13, to be able to peel back this new identity and then find your space and find your footing and say, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to respond? And I think that segues into when we talk about Lorenzo's house. The idea was that metaphorically you would walk through the doors of Lorenzo's house and everyone in the family was supported. Our youth, through our youth initiatives, our care partners, spouses, the primary care partner, and our loved one living with the diagnosis. As I said, we are very, very small, but we are growing faster than we imagined. So we need help, we need support, we need grace. But one of the things that we've done, I think, and it's kind of using our youth as a compass and using the voices of our families as a compass, is that we are building out through the lens of our youth, of that entire vision of supporting the whole family. We can't do it all at once, but I think this youth component is where we are leading. It's like we're leading with that. And we have, 3 really interesting sort of initiatives and programs. Our light clubs, which someone here will talk about better than me, and then our youth summit, and a new evolving and budding initiative called Shifting the Narrative, shedding light on stigma. And then our Young Professionals Board, that's not an initiative, but those are sort of 4 new sort of anchors of building blocks at Lorenzo's house. And the last thing I will say, and I maybe I should say this later, but what we have found is that our youth probably have it the hardest. Meaning, when we hear this diagnosis, when family absorbs this new lifestyle, we are all trying to figure it out. The culture in the family shifts, the dynamic shifts, life kind of turns upside down. And yet we still keep our lives busy, and our loved one would want us to move forward. But our kids, our young people, probably have it the hardest, yet their voice is the softest. Because not only did they see their mom or their dad who's struggling with this very complex diagnosis, they also see the other parent compromised and trying to just find their way. And they're kind of caught in the middle, trying to be like, they have an S on their chest. They're a little superwoman or a superman every day. So we're here to show that love, to give that sense of community, like you're not alone. Somehow we got this, never alone, always united. So our kids have it the hardest, yet their voice is the softest, I think is really how we lead with our initiatives.
Well, and I think that that's a really important comment. I know when I got into this space in 2009, I focused on the family caregiver, the primary, and the person diagnosed, because they weren't heard even back in 2009. And yet we need to hear everyone's voice and to carve out a specific niche and to give a safe, comfortable space, which is needed. And a lot of times I think initiatives start and they've got great ideas, but if you don't have that safe, comfortable, authentic space where people can really be honest with their journeys, I think you're doing a disjustice for who you're trying to serve. And you're really letting people tell their stories. And I think that's one of the best ways to change the narrative, because people can relate to storytelling. And, these aren't made up stories. These are real life, everyday things, and they come wrapped in all kinds of emotion. And to be able to have people who understand that, who you don't have to worry about a misstep or how am I going to be perceived, because they get it at some level, because all of our journeys are much more similar than different. And I think, that's one of those things that just applies to life in general. And you guys are being forced to adjust to some pretty hairy things at a really young age that even, grown adults struggle with. But to me, it is really exciting to see you guys having this space and to be able to step up and step in and claim your journey, and be able to do something about it and be a force in the future. So Shylah, I want to ask you, you had mentioned that you're going to be the MC for the third annual Youth Summit, which is coming up. I think it's June 17th, if I'm not mistaken. What the heck is the summit? Why don't you tell us, what does that entail and how do people get involved in that?
So I think attending the Youth Summit is a great way to kind of see what Lorenzo's house is all about. And there will be youth from all over the world kind of coming together and connecting over a shared experience. And it's an event that should not be missed. And I think it really will have a positive impact on the youth. And also, there are many sessions that are going to be held during this Youth Summit. So I just wanted to take a moment to kind of mention some of the partners of Lorenzo's house and some of the sessions that they will be leading. So we have Yale University Art Gallery, who will be leading an art session. And we've got Teepa Snow, HFC, Us Against Alzheimer's, who will be leading Techniques Through Understanding. And we've got U Chicago Medicine going over mindfulness and storytelling and shifting the narrative, bringing light to stigma. So we've got Alzheimer's Disease International, Alzheimer's Society of Canada, the London School of Economics, and some other partners as well are the Younger People Living with Dementia and Dementia Society of America. So there's some really great stuff that's going to be done during this Youth Summit. And I think it's just a great way to just find people and, to ease those feelings of isolation and loneliness and just to come together. And I think Bree can comment on this, but people, I think, can sign up if they go to the website. But I think Bree can probably elaborate that on a little bit more.
Yeah, you can sign up on our website at lorenzoshouse.org under our youth initiatives. And really, if you are a youth who has a parent who is living with or has lived with younger onset dementia between the ages of 8 to 30 years old, we have tween, teen, and young adult groups. If you know anyone, please spread the word. As Shylah mentioned, we're really bringing youth together to have a place to, connect, a place to be seen, be heard, be united. Just to even give a little background, and Diana briefly touched on this earlier, Lorenzo's Youth Summit was originally started as a virtual camp in our first year in 2021, now turned summit to attract that older audience, the young adults. And this idea was started by Diana and Lorenzo's son, Lucas. And as Diana mentioned too, youth are so overlooked through this journey, and they really do need that place. Our first year, we started with 20 youth. Then we went to 43 youth in our second year. And now this year we're projected to have 80 youth from all across the globe. And the summit is, as Shylah mentioned too, like she's leading this day. The summit is co-planned, co-facilitated by our own youth. They are paired with an expert partner in the space leading each of these sessions. So again, if you know anyone, please spread the word.
Oh, definitely. We'll be pushing it out. I think it's amazing what you're doing. And I love that you're allowing the youth to be part of the planning and just the thick of things too, instead of, sometimes organizations get up and tell us how we're supposed to feel and what we're supposed to do. And when you lead with someone on that journey, I think it's a whole different outcome. And I think it makes it more comfortable for people to step into that space too, because it says you really get it and you understand the importance and the power of the voice. Jessica, I'm going to go to you because I'd like to hear a little bit about the Light Club that Lorenzo's house has, and if you can tell us why that is a special place, and how long you've been attending that.
Yeah. Okay. So, I started like a little while ago, and I just loved it. So what we do a lot of stuff that just helps the youth. So every light club, we're given an opportunity to talk, share stories. We first just like check in how we're doing, and then if needed, we say what's happened this week that was a bit challenging, and then we also, every light club, we normally take a couple minutes to do some kind of like guided meditation, and like Tessa, who is the leader of my group, she like taught us about how like kind of just taking a minute to take deep breaths can clear out your brain and help you to think properly in hard situations. So we're just taught to like take a minute to breathe and relax. They also teach us what's going on in our parents' brains, because while we know the emotional aspect, it's also sometimes can help us a lot to know what really is happening. I know in my group, in one of our sessions, we were like we were taught a little bit about how like their brain age level kind of goes down, and like I know for me it's really interesting, and it really helps me on my journey when I'm like helping my dad and stuff to like really understand what is going on in his brain. And so yeah, and then we're able to vent, and sometimes we journal too. So we're really like taught, and then sometimes we have like cool people come, like we have this drama guy who comes and he teaches us fun exercises that help us like improv, it really helps when you have someone living at home and they might say something really random, and so we like are able to just learn a lot and also just vent. So it's an awesome space for our youth.
Well, it sounds wonderful, and I love that you're bringing people in as well to help them learn, and then the self-care too, with the meditation and the breathing. I think that's something that so many adults need to have as well, and I would love to see that being taught in our schools at a much younger level. And I know they're starting to do that, but those things are really, really helpful. So kudos for you. What kinds of comments, Jessica, are you hearing from other kids that participate in this, or young adults?
Honestly, I think, when I'm on there, it's pretty cool because people are able to share stories and talk, and there's so many different stages that everyone's all at. I know there's some youth who are talking about putting their care person in assisted living, while there's others who are talking about just accepting and just their parent just getting diagnosed. There's all kinds of different stages, but it's awesome because the people in later stages can help out the ones who are just getting used to it because they've been through that. And like it's just an awesome community, and while we're all at different places and stages with this disease, and we're hearing all different kinds of things from the youth, everyone I think is able to enjoy and really feel like they're being understood and they're connecting on this.
Now, is the light group open to all ages?
We have some kind of different groups, and we have like 3 main groups of light club. So we have like I don't remember the exact ages, but I think it's like pretty little kids to like 12, and then we have I think it's 13 through like I think it might be 17, something like that. And then I bet Bree and Diana can tell you the exact ages, but then so we have these three main groups, and there's so we have teens, kids, and we have kind of a young adult light club group. And so we every other week we have a light club, and so 1 week we have our separate groups, and then the next time we all get together as a big group. So we're just we swap off between those two things, so we're able to connect with kids our own age, but then we're also able to talk to everyone and see where everyone is at and all the youth and come together.
Okay, great. Bree, did you want to define the groups that you have?
Yeah. So Jessica did an amazing job is just explaining as to, her experience in Light Club and what Light Club is all about. But Light Club is really, it was from just to go back a bit too, Light Club was started in our first year after our youth summit. Our youth really came together and they're like, how can we continue this support? We need this space to connect and feel heard because no one understands us. We need that ongoing support. So a few of the youth came together and they're like, okay, how about this idea of a Light Club, more of a hangout where we can just talk about whatever's on our mind. It doesn't even have to be, dementia related, but it's really a safe, brave space, virtual hangout for tweens, teens, and young adults who have a parent who is living with or has lived with younger onset dementia. Youth join in from all across the globe just to really connect with one another, have fun, share common stories. And as Jessica mentioned, it meets on the second Wednesday for age-specific groups and on the fourth Wednesday for full group of all ages of youth. And we say, you can join with your camera on, camera off, participate as little or as much as you want. Showing up is just enough. This, just to give another example of what this space is, one of our youth shared of how grateful he was for this space to connect with others because he felt like he couldn't share his thoughts or emotions with anyone. And also he felt like he couldn't share that with his parent that is not living with the condition because it would be like a burden, and didn't want to put his emotions, what he was feeling, on his mom, who was the main caregiver for his father, for her husband. So really having this safe space to share openly without explaining has really supported him on this journey, and I know for so many others.
Great. One question I have for you, and I know we hadn't discussed this prior, but I think it's an important one, is if a parent passes, can the kids still be part of the group? Because a lot of adult groups say, nope, your journey is over, and you're kind of kicked out of the group. And, I know that can cause a lot of harm to people because that's been their lifeline.
Yes. If any of our groups, if you've lost a spouse, if you've lost a parent, we have people still joining our groups, and that's okay. This journey does not stop once our loved one has passed. And as Diana shared, you are always on this journey. You are still walking this journey no matter what, and you still need that community to support you. And our families welcome. We are a family at Lorenzo's house. Every single one of the families within our community welcomes everyone with open arms, and that's how we treat everyone.
Wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that because there's just different stories for different groups and stuff out there, but it's just absolutely critical to keep that community built. Will, I want to ask you about this shifting the narrative, bringing light to the stigma initiative. Can you talk about that? What's that all about?
Yeah, sure. So as part of the summit, we've designed this kind of workshop and session with ADI, Alzheimer's Disease International, and the Alzheimer's Society of Canada. We've had a lot of great minds, including a lot of youth, helping shape this. And kind of the idea of bringing light to stigma is firstly defining what stigma is and how it shows up in our lives, because it's not only stigma of the person that is living with Alzheimer's, but it's also the caregivers as well. Like it's a two-pronged stigma, and it's how do we acknowledge and bring light to how to identify stigma in our lives, but then also how do we have the community and the young people share approaches to overcome So it's everyone in the space, has their own experiences of how they cope on a day-to-day. But then with the kind of partnering with these kind of organizations and their previous research, we can really try and consolidate that and have kind of some techniques to firstly identify and then overcome these challenges. But we're also trying to use it as a way of supporting those organizations to gather information about, the realities of young people and realities of younger onset. So we're using kind of ways of tracking data so we can help inform some reports that are coming out, I think, later on down the line. But really, it's empowering young people to spot it and then how to feel, confident to cope and, turn stigma into strength.
Wonderful. What's your greatest hope for this initiative?
My greatest hope is for people to have more confidence in understanding right from wrong, that it's not just okay to feel bad sometimes, that the stigma is like a cloud over you. It just feels like it's a bad day, but, having the ability to spot it and, even whether it's taking some deep breaths or acknowledging that, it's okay to feel this way or to confide in someone at a light club or, whatever the approach is. It's basically, how do we have confidence to know we're not alone? And also the importance to share our voice because it does matter.
I think that's wonderful. I keep hearing, about sharing the voice and not feeling alone. And those, I think, resonate with anybody at any level of this journey. And I think to me, that's the critical piece of helping people live graciously alongside this disease. I mean, nobody would wish this on their worst enemy. But there are things that we can do to make it much better and for us to become much better people and look at the world a little bit differently too, in terms of how we react to things.
Thank you, Will, for so eloquently sharing the Shift the Narrative initiative. I just would like to build on it just for a half a second, which is the overall sort of idea of Lorenzo's house is to shift the narrative. Mm-hmm. Right. And is to this idea from isolation to connection, from sorrow to bits of joy, from stigma to strength, from dark to light. And one of the things that we were finding is that our young people not only wanted to find ways to just even beyond cope, but live in their homes and live in their new space with a parent with living with dementia in ways that they could really be an instrument of light and joy and strength. They wanted to be that instrument, whether it's like Jessica said, I now know how to use improv in my kitchen, or Will saying, look, I now know that I'm going to do some crazy runs because that's going to help me be better for my family somehow. And I'm going to bring attention. One of the things that I think kept resonating was this idea of justice, like young people, and we all want to kind of lean on, fight for, whatever the language is, justice for our parents, justice for our families, like this sense of people living with dementia need and deserve to be full members of society and go wherever they want to go, be whoever they want to be, both our loved one, my Lorenzo, and my sons and me. And so this shift the narrative, this idea of stigma is young people saying, how are we going to erase this? How are we going to cancel stigma? What does it look like to just erase it? Because we're so strong, we're so good at sharing our knowledge, and that do we believe that we can do that? Like we have to first believe that, gosh, maybe we can end stigma. So let's plant some seeds. And our young people are doing that. And that inspires, I think, our young people to say, God, I'm a part of something. And I'm responding to so often a situation that feels hopeless. And if we feel hopeless, that isn't going to work, right? How do we just shift that whole piece? So this is also about justice, and that whole stigma piece is just being driven by, again, the lens, the voice, the compass of our young people. And just so when we say dementia, when we say Lorenzo's house, the umbrella of dementia has Alzheimer's, FTD, Lewy body, whatever form of dementia, everyone is welcome at Lorenzo's house. Because while we all experience, and while this shows up different in our homes, we all had a common thread of similarity and commonness on our journey. So I just wanted to share those thoughts.
Well, I'm going to add on to what you said. I just think it is really important. I mean, and what you're doing is you're helping the kids really get involved in collaboration, the sense of community, and the creativeness of how do we tackle this. And I think so often in society, creativity is squashed. And no, you have to do it the way we've always done it. And you guys are screaming, it's not working. We need something different out here. And you're open to listening and trying different things. And I think that's beautiful, because when people's hearts are in it, and there's so much that our youth have to offer, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. But we have to give them the space to be able to feel safe enough to experiment and try different things, because not everything we do is going to succeed. And, but again, it's learning. If it didn't work out quite the way we wanted it, it's about shifting it and learning from that experience. I mean, that's life in and of itself, constant adjustment, and being able to frame that different, that it's not about perfection. It is about progress. And it is, how these small steps can be life-changing for so many people, especially when we merge together. So thank you. Shylah, I want to go up to you and ask you about, how do you think Lorenzo's House is different from other initiatives and things that are out there?
Yeah, so Lorenzo's House is different because it really focuses on the youth. And, there's a lot of organizations out there that support care partners, which is really awesome, because we need that. But we also need something for the youth as well, because the journey of a youth who has a parent or guardian with younger onset dementia, it's a very unique one. And not many people can understand that. And this is something that needs to be recognized. And I believe that Lorenzo's House really does recognize this. And youth just need a safe space to kind of open up and to share their stories. And speaking from personal experience, when I was going through this, I reached out to some Alzheimer's organizations, and I asked them, I'm just like, is there anyone else who is going through the same thing as me? Like, can you connect me with other youth? And it was really hard for them to do that. And I did not meet any young caregiver before kind of being involved with Lorenzo's House. I didn't meet anyone else who was going through the same thing as me. And so it's just, what Lorenzo's House, what they're doing, it's really important. And it is so needed in the community for us to kind of feel seen and to find people that are going through the same things that we are.
Well, and I think so often services follow, the money trail of who can donate and who has a voice. And when the youth hasn't had a place to have a voice, that kind of shuts it all down. But I think Diana said in the very beginning, this is not a disease of one, this is a disease of family. So we have to be inclusive of everybody in the family with that. Jessica, you've made some new friends, I believe, through Lorenzo's House. And is there a story there that you want to share with us about that?
So yes. Fun story. I'd been with Lorenzo's House for a little bit, and so one day, it was actually during one of my swim meets. My mom was just listening to one of her support groups, and she heard someone say that they were from a part of Utah that's very close to us. And they exchanged information, and they decided to get together, and they talked to each other. And we found out that she has 2 kids. They're a bit older than me, but there's these kids that are also living with younger onset Alzheimer's that we found out lived 20 minutes away. And I got to get together with them and meet them, and it was really funny because our dads got to meet each other, and we were both just able to laugh at the disease and laugh together when both of them couldn't figure out whose kids were in a picture. And we were just like, it was nice to be able to have someone that close that we were able to talk to who understood it and who totally got it. And it was really nice to just be able to laugh like, whoa, we really are living in some ridiculous world, aren't we?
Oh, that's great. It is funny how when the doors open up, it's kind of like when you buy a new car and you think you're the only one with that little red car on the street, then all of a sudden you're seeing them all over. But when those connections are able to bloom, you realize how many people are all around you, have been around you, you just didn't know. The power of word of mouth, I think, is just one of the most powerful things we have, sharing the stories, opening the door, welcoming people in. It's life-changing. It's absolutely life-changing when you're feeling so isolated and alone on this journey.
And I'll just add to that, we talk a lot of time in our Light Club and in our Bright Brunches, our care partner sessions for primary care partners. We sometimes have topics around the laughter. When do we laugh at with this diagnosis? And that's a very tender conversation. And it is personal, right? And so much trust needs to be there. Who gets to laugh and when is really about that care partner, that care youth. And so when Jessica was able to find that connection, that closeness is so powerful, because we don't laugh with anyone, right? It is a very unique, and everyone takes this differently and looks at it differently, but laughter and dementia, that's its own very kind of complex journey. But it was a beautiful thing that Jessica was able to have that with teenagers in her space, because that wouldn't necessarily happen with other teenagers in her community, right? So thank you for being so brave to share that story, because it's complex and it's beautiful and it's all sorts of things. So.
Well, and you're right. Laughter is one of those things that's very protective, yet it's the core of most relationships. It's a very intimate thing. But when people are laughing, when they don't really know the situation, then it turns into a laugh at instead of laugh with. And, and plus it can be a survival technique in terms of just getting you through, the next phase there. Will, was there anything else that you wanted to share about Lorenzo's house and what it's done for you?
I suppose just by being part of it, albeit briefly, anyone in any of those sessions, whether it be Light Club or I'm sure the Summit as well, just by signing up, you're kind of immediately in a room of people that understand. So there's none of this awkward, I need to explain myself, say as much or as little as you want. And for me, that's been the first time I've ever experienced that. So it's been nice to kind of make new brothers, sisters, and from all over the place, but just to know that we can talk about anything in life. We just know that there's this common ground that we don't have to explain or have to, so it's, if you have to understand it in a room that is just there for you no matter what, that I think that's any of the programming that Lorenzo's house put on.
Well, that's a beautiful thing, because I think everybody wants that and needs that, especially in the crazy world we're living in. People are having a difficult time finding that. And that, again, that type of support, that's the one thing I hear from people all around the world over and over, to not feel alone, to feel supported, to feel understood, and to feel safe. And again, when you said, you don't have to describe it, people just, they get it. It's just this uncommon bond, that is there, and it runs so deep. And I think a lot of times too, people, and I think it's gotten better since the pandemic, but there was a period of time where people thought, well, relationships on Zoom, those aren't really real, but they're very, very deep and very, very connected in so many ways. Bree, I want to go to you in terms of wrapping up here, and then up to Diana. But are there other programs or events that we should know about in addition to the Youth Summit coming up on the 17th?
Yeah, so we have a few events and opportunities going on at Lorenzo's house. But actually, I'll start too. We support the entire family through the journey. And as Diana mentioned, any form of younger onset dementia, whether it be FTD, Lewy body, vascular dementia, any form of younger onset dementia. We also support the care partners through our bright brunches and our light lounges as well as our, our youth support. But as for our events and opportunities going on, if you're in the Chicagoland area or not, we are hosting an in-person family night at Millennium Hall, uniting friends in the space and families living with younger onset dementia. That event is on Friday, June 2nd. We also have an international board at Lorenzo's house comprised of young experts in the space and young people walking this journey. So if you're a young professional and wanting to get involved, reach out to us and learn how to start a chapter in your area. We have a few chapters starting up within Dallas and LA and a few other places. So if you want to get involved, please reach out. And then lastly, we do have a 12-minute short film called Shifting the Narrative, the Story of Lorenzo's House. And this is a story that is just one of many, which gives a look into Diana and Lorenzo's home, sharing their story of their journey and the launch of Lorenzo's house. So we're hosting screening opportunities as a way to really bring light to the faces, these younger faces of dementia. So if you're interested in hosting a screening or to get involved with any of the events I mentioned, please reach out to us at info@lorenzoshouse.org.
Great. Diana, why don't you bring us to a close with thoughts and maybe some things that we missed in our conversation.
Thank you again, Lori, for having us. And I'm in awe of you, Shylah. I'm in awe of you, Jessica, and I'm in awe of you, Will. Thank you for being the light. You are so much, and you are the experts. You are the young people who are going to pave the way for yourselves and those who come behind you. And Lorenzo's house is just a bit of a vessel to help you do that and to help others do that. So I think we have to be in awe of our youth and use our youth as a compass. And that's what we're trying to do at Lorenzo's house. And we're grateful to be a part of this. Bree, I don't know if it's follow us, volunteer with us, introduce us to people. We are a nonprofit. Donate if this makes sense to you. Get involved. Come to our family night. Spread the word. We're small. We're growing very fast, and we're doing everything we can to be really, really focused on what our community needs, what our very niche community of younger onset families who are walking with younger onset, what we need. Because Lorenzo's house really is one of the only places that is unapologetically an organization that is just serving, focusing, concentrating, listening to, building for younger families living with dementia. And we cannot do it alone. We need to be a force, and we need people who are smart and passionate to walk beside us.
Oh, definitely. Well, this has just been, to me, a really exciting conversation, really shining a light on a gap in services that you guys have filled so nicely and have such a variety of services that you're offering. When we were talking initially, we were talking about, meeting the youth needs, but you're like, no, the parents are welcome here. We support them on this journey as well. And, I think that just the way you are approaching this, giving them voice, putting them center stage, to really talk about what are the needs and how should we approach this, and let's just open Pandora's box and pull back the curtain and make magic happen. It's really easy to do when you have that open heart to just improve the situation. And like I said, kudos to all of you for the work that you're doing. In wrapping up, I just want to make sure that everybody gets contact information, but I also want to play on what Diana said. A lot of times people, they might not have the time or they might not have the money to be able to support in different ways, but you always can spread the word. So be a giver of hope. Like, click, and share this show. Go to their website, like, click, and share. You don't know who is in your sphere of influence that is dealing with this, because people don't feel comfortable talking about it. And we have to get this information out into the world. So, the more times people see something, the more likely they're going to reach out and grab it and go, okay, this is a message to me, or it's just time, or whatever it might be. But you'll be shocked at how many people are dealing with this. And we're not going to know that until we get comfortable as a society in terms of having a conversation about it. And then it just keeps spreading and the connections keep coming. And I think, the world right now really needs support. And this is just a beautiful, beautiful way to support and tell people you understand. You might not be walking the path yourself, but you understand that there's help and there's support, and you want that for them. And that's a pretty big gift that you can give people. So please help them out any way that you can, and help those in your sphere to know about this information. We've got to spread the knowledge. You can go to their website, lorenzoshouse.org, or you can email them at info@lorenzoshouse.org. You can also call 312-319-8797. And they are on Facebook and Twitter. They've got a YouTube page. They're on Instagram. They're on LinkedIn. So there's no excuse not to be able to connect with them. They are all over the place. So again, I thank each and every one of you for sharing your stories with us today. And to our listeners, I appreciate you very much, and help grow and support Lorenzo's House. Thank you.
It's time to rethink, renew, and reimagine retirement. Hey everybody, Jared Sebesta here, host of Retire Repurposed. Now, this podcast is about the non-financial parts of retirement, which many times can be even more challenging than the financial. We believe retirement is not the end, rather the beginning of what could be the most impactful, purposeful, and fulfilling season of a person's life. So don't retire, become repurposed. To listen now, search Retire Repurposed on your favorite podcast platform, Senior Resource, or Life Audio.